Presented by the Making Star Wars Podcasting Network. This is the Cantina Cast, your watering hole for thought-provoking Star Wars discussion, character dissections, quote and scene analysis, honest opinions on the Star Wars news that interests you, and whatever else these guys come up with. Here are your hosts, Mike and Joa.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 213, the listener feedback for The Last Jedi. And I am joined by Albert. Albert, say hello.
Hey, hello, everybody. Hello, Mike.
Hey, what's up? Joe is taking a little break because he's got to work, so that's why Albert's filling in for me tonight, and we're going to go over the listener feedback and stuff. But before we do that, we're going to a few things we want to talk about, a little bit of news. And already, this kind of surprised me, Albert, is what we had episode 9 news, like the day after the premiere of The Last Jedi, which was JJ, I guess, pitched the story of episode 9 to Bob Iger, which I thought was pretty interesting that, you know, he pitched it the day after The Last Jedi. He must have had that in his mind or something like that. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? I'm sure this is going to tie into a few questions we're going to have on episode 9 and what things are going to go. But what do you feel about, I mean, it's nothing earth-shattering. It's just the ball's already rolling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got one that's ending, and now here you go.
I think he's just.
So what do you think?
I think he's upset, and I think he's. No, I'm kidding. He's not upset.
He's like, "What'd you do to my ending? My beautiful ending?"
I'm changing this
exactly.
now. No. Well, if you think about it, so we're on this movies machine, right? Two years, every 2 years or so. There's really not a lot of time if you think about it. I mean, he's probably been thinking about it for some time, and I think it lines up about right. I think if you watch the Last Jedi red carpet premiere, they actually interviewed, I think it was Bob Iger, if I'm not mistaken, on the red carpet, and he made a comment in there that on the plane, I guess the night of the Force Awakens premiere, he had the script in hand, the first draft of the script for The Last Jedi. So that just goes to show you this is probably not, it's not uncommon in this day and age of Disney movie machines and getting Star Wars movies out every 2 years, that they should have something in hand almost around this time for that process really to play out and for them to have enough time to get the movie out on time.
Yeah, because as you know, I was posting stuff in the Discord about the art of the Last Jedi, and I have to admit, you guys should. It's worth getting, or at least if you get your hands on it in the bookstore and read it while you're there for like an hour or something, just to dive into it, especially the forward with Ryan. It gives you an insight of things. And they're mentioning stuff with George Lucas before he sold the company, and they're talking about Ryan when he got on the project, like you just said, like he handed the script in right when the Force Awakens was happening. And it's just very interesting how the ball keeps rolling. They don't stop. They just keep going, and that's the way it is. So it's very interesting. I'm excited, actually, because I don't know if someone asked JJ a question on the red carpet later or whatever it was. Is there a story for episode 9? He says, oh, yeah, there's a story there. And there is, because I think we got more questions now than anything else. So in any case, speaking of the movie, because we're going to get into a bit of our poll and everything. I know initially you were like me. I'm just curious what your thoughts are, because you were like me. You got into the spoilers, and you were kind of like my therapist a little bit. And I went to you. We were going back and forth a little bit, saying, "Oh gosh, like the doom and gloom, the sky's falling, the way that things are described in Reddit, and some of the things we saw, we were like, ugh." We were very nervous, and you know, we both saw the movie, obviously, because we're here talking about it. We had mixed emotions, which comes into something we're going to talk about in a little bit in our super awesome scientific poll that we have. And you came away, I think initially, like me, kind of mixed. It wasn't as bad as we thought. But then the second viewing, I thought it was pretty darn good. It wasn't that doom and gloom as I thought. Things that I was annoyed by, and as I said it on our second review show that we did with Joe there, it wasn't as bad as I adjusted, I guess you could say. So what were your thoughts? Initially, I guess, I don't mean to put words in your own mouth. And the second time around, what did you think?
Well, I mean, you're not off base at all. I think so. I mean, going into the movie, I would say I was probably about 99.9% spoiled. I think there were very few things I didn't know. Like Maz's jetpack. But outside of that,
that was actually, I like that. To be honest, I mean, that scene was weird, but I like the jetpack. But
Yeah,
continue.
right. So going in, I was completely spoiled, and seeing this stuff on paper, and just hearing about it firsthand without experiencing it, really kind of had me, on edge a little bit, just because it sounded some of these things sounded ridiculous. And I don't know, that may be too powerful of a word, but it did sound very, very off base, or at least what I thought the story should do and how the character should play out and that sort of thing. And I think that first viewing for me, I sat there and I kept watching it going, yep, okay, here comes this part. All right, here comes this part. Oh, that's what I thought. Yep, that does not look like what I thought. And I didn't get to experience the movie, and that's okay, because I knew this going in that I was spoiled, but I really didn't get to just accept the movie for what it is. I was so focused on vetting and validating and coming to beliefs and disbeliefs about what was going to happen based on what I knew going in. And so I don't think that it didn't really give me an opportunity to land an opinion one way or the other. Outside of that, I had mixed feelings about it. Going into the second movie, I was able to just kind of kick back. I found myself emotional. I was absolutely, stone cold the whole time, the first viewing. The second viewing, I could feel myself getting emotional, especially with the Carrie moment and with Luke and Leia together, the Holdo and Leia holding hands. I mean, all this stuff was getting to me, and I'm thinking, man, is it just because I've only had like 6 hours of sleep and it's 7 in the morning, or am I, finally just really kind of enjoying the movie for what it is? So I think I walked away the second viewing liking the movie a lot more. I still have, and I don't know that I'll ever be able to resolve some of the conflict I got with where I think these characters should have gone, maybe almost to Mark Hamill's tune about how I didn't really see it that way, and maybe I'm kind of going through all that. But I will say that I think the movie is great. I think it's amazing. In fact, even the first day when we were talking about it in Discord and afterwards, when we kind of got on and we were chatting, I mentioned that if you look at the movie from art direction, directing, cinematography, the scenes themselves, the acting, the sound effects, all of that was just top notch. And we'll probably talk about it here in a second, but the scores that you see, like for Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic, that accurately reflects that. So on its own merit, I think the movie's great. How it ties in with TFA and the prequels and the original trilogy, there's obviously some things there that I'm still trying to reconcile.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue, and I'd said it to Indiana Jim privately on Facebook, and that is, I said, and he said what he said on his personal thing, and I responded. I said, I think the biggest issue is how Luke was handled, and kind of resolving whatever you had in your mind and what Mark Hamill had, and I don't think, and no fault to Mark's at all. I think Mark shouldn't, if he didn't say what he said, I don't think it would have been in our heads as fans in a way. Like Mark said, I fundamentally disagree.
Yeah, I think that's
all these
fair.
things. And I can see where Mark would disagree. I still think I disagree on a lot of things myself. So, but it wasn't doom and gloom. I thought it was interesting that they went that direction, and I'm still working through it like everybody else with the mix thing, and we'll go from there. But anyway, let's get into the Last Jedi box office numbers as of 12/16. 45 million on Thursday, second all time to The Force Awakens, which was 57 million, right?
Yep.
And this is funny because these numbers are very interesting. They're better than I thought they would be, I believe, when I was with Joe and everything. And it was 105 million Friday, second all time to The Force Awakens, 119. So that Joe might be right, I think. I don't know. What do you think of these numbers? Good. Obviously, they're good.
Yeah, I think they're amazing, and I think they're higher than we anticipated. Movies usually take a bump, the sophomore slump kind of thing, for sequels. And honestly, this is ridiculous. I mean, I think Forbes magazine had called it that this was obviously showing Star Wars' fatigue, and they were obviously joking around, but and they said it was sad and shameful that they only made 105 million. But I mean, it's projected to take home about 215 for the weekend, so Friday through Sunday, which would put it second all time, not adjusting for inflation. So if I'm Bob Iger and I've just bought Fox, and I've got these numbers to show, I'm feeling pretty good about the future of Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know who could top him as an executive after he decides to leave. I mean, what do? You just don't sink the ship, I guess. That's all you could really do at the end of the day with that. I mean, It's interesting where these final numbers are going to be, but I think it's stronger than I thought because, Joe always says, the second one doesn't do as well financially. I don't know. This might be slightly down. Maybe he'll win in the end. I don't know. Let's get into the whole Metacritic, Rotten Tomatoes and that whole thing. Metacritic has it at 86%, which I think is probably right because we have, based on our super scientific poll that we did
right.
on Facebook, where I put, because and Facebook only gives you two options for a choice, which I don't understand why. Facebook, hello, could you give us more of a choice there? I guess it's new, so maybe that's what the whole problem is. But I put love it, hate it, or comment if it was mixed. So we had love it. We had at this time, what do we have? 114 for loving it, 22 to hate it, and mixed people commented was 21. So that was at 72% for loving it, 14 for hated it, 14 for mixed. By the way, I was in the mixed crowd. I still put myself in the mixed crowd. As I said, when I saw it the first night, I gave it a 6. And not that I really like to rank them or anything, but this is just so you guys had an idea of what my mindset was about the movie, gauging on a 1 to 10 scale. And the second showing, I went to 6.3. And I think it's going to go up. As like I said, I'm reading the art book, and there's insight to it, and then you kind of get the better picture. Now, I'll argue that you shouldn't have to be going in an art book and diving deeper like that. But Ryan threw a lot of things at us, so it helps to do those things. But anyway, what are your thoughts on the Rotten Tomatoes, the Metacritic, and the audience score, the critic score, and our super scientific poll, sir? What do you have to say?
Yeah, I think our supersonic or super awesome poll is accurate. It definitely lines up with Metacritic. That's probably, I think we put on there that didn't hate it was 85%. So if you didn't hate it and we took the loved and the mix, it came out to 85. The Rotten Tomatoes score, I think, that's probably, it's a snapshot in time. And to your point, I think with multiple viewings, and I don't know how many of these folks that are chiming in on Rotten Tomatoes and saying that they didn't like it, how many viewings they've had, did they come in with their own, bias, and how open-minded they were to those biases. But it's at 93% for the critic score, which, kind of like I said earlier, if you just take it on its own merits, it's an incredible movie. Probably, arguably, one of the best Star Wars movies, if not the best, and arguably one of the better science fiction movies or science fantasy movies that's ever been put out. And then you got the audience score sitting at 57. So you talk about polarizing, you talk about a big delta there. I think this is all, again, it's just a snapshot in time. I think people are reacting, popping their evaluations on there. And I think with the multiple viewings, they probably will come around. I think most of us are already seeing that. If you look out on Twitter, Facebook, social media that we've been following, we see it from our fans. We see it from some of the other sites and the other shows. They're all saying the same thing. They came out of the theater, the first showing, had mixed feelings, weren't sure how they felt about it, things they definitely didn't like. After the second viewing, they are starting to come around. They're starting to appreciate some of that stuff. They're starting to make amends and make peace with the fact that this is not a bad movie. It's not a bad direction. It's going to take some more time in getting used to, but they're willing to get on board. So I think that it's a good reflection of everything.
It kind of reminds me, Mortis was kind of like this. Smaller scale, obviously, but where you had to watch it over and over to kind of get every little detail and kind of understand where George was going with that and his final say with what the Force was. And this is kind of like that because there are elements of that. There's just a lot going on there. And Ryan, it's funny. It's almost like the other day I was saying, now what would be better? I'm trying to think in my head before I go into my second view. I'm like, is it better to just rip the Band-Aid off and just get it over with where people are going to get used to this new way of Star Wars? Or do we slowly just peel the Band-Aid back and, kill Han, then kill Luke, or then do this little thing and then strip away what we're so familiar with? Or is it easy to just rip the whole thing off and just kind of set a whole thing anew? And I think Ryan probably made the right choice of just ripping the Band-Aid off and kind of, getting it all out of the way and stuff. And now JJ can kind of do what he's got to do, and we'll see where that goes, which is going to be very interesting. But anyway,
for sure.
Enough of the doom and gloom here. Let's get into the questions that our listeners have. We had most of these questions are from Discord. I don't think we got any emails. Well, we probably did. I just couldn't access it because Joe had changed the password on me. I don't know why. But anyway, well, he did. I guess because he logged out and then he had to, how when you do Google, you got to do the whole process, and I can't do that. So unfortunately, if we didn't get to your question and you sent us something in, I'm sure we're going to get to those again at some point, and we'll address them because we got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about anyway. All right, so this comes from Imperial Moonwalker. He's got several questions here. He's a Patreon member, so he's going first here. Should we expect Force Ghost Luke in the next episode? And if Luke is not in the next episode as a Force Ghost, I think we're all going to have...
I'm out.
Then people are going to riot, and there'll be a real big stink, I think, right?
I'm done. I won't be a part of this anymore. No, I'm kidding. I probably would be, but yeah, I mean, come on. We waited how many years for Luke and then got all of, 30, 45 seconds in TFA, and then, we got in The Last Jedi. Yeah, I just can't see that. That seems very futile. Apart from something just, happening to Mark Hamill, God forbid. Yes. I can't see them not putting him in as a Force Ghost. I mean, the whole see you around kid. Yeah, I mean, that's... Hello.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was the indication of, yeah. And I keep saying, this is my own thing, is like, because I've been saying this for like 4 years that Dave Filoni is going to do the animated series and it's going to be post Return of the Jedi. And I want Luke, to have the relationship with his nephew where they're kind of that buddy thing. And he kind of, when Uncle Luke shows up, he has fun and all that. And then Uncle Luke leaves and he's miserable Ben again. But I want him to say, I'll see you around, kid. So later it plays off in The Last Jedi. I want him to do that. I don't know if he'll do that, but Dave might do that. Sometimes he does those things and stuff like that. All right, next question. How will they write Leia out of the story? I don't know if they're going to write her out of the story. I thought they were going to do that in this one because it looked like it, not necessarily from what we saw in the trailer, but I thought, it just wasn't going to work out well because I saw the visual dictionary on Reddit and I saw the back to tank and the medical thing. And I'm like, oh, well, all right. So this is how it's going to be.
Yeah.
They left it open-ended.
We were locked in that was it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm like, all right, well, they're going to make it so at the end she's in the medical thing, but we just don't know what happens. I personally think we're going to have I've been saying this since I saw the end of the movie the other night. I said, we're going to have a time jump now. Like, we're going to be back to where we normally would be, maybe 3-5 years after The Last Jedi. I assume. I'm guessing there. But what are your thoughts with Leia?
Yeah, I don't know that we'll. So I don't know that they're actually going to. Well, they won't. I don't think they'll show it in 9. I think there almost has to be a time jump, not because of what happens to Leia, but some of the other things that we'll probably get to through the course of these questions. But there are probably other things that are gonna have to happen, and we're gonna have some kind of a time jump. I think 3 to 5 years probably makes sense. I probably wouldn't go any further than that, but who knows? I mean, it'd be really crazy if they went even further than that. But and I think what we'll do is we probably will get some kind of, General Leia, this is what happened to her, right, through the course of conversation, or maybe some kind of, I don't know, flashback or something. Who's to say? But I just don't see them trying to carry her in there, and I think it's going to be kind of just dealt with, and that'll probably be the end of it.
Yeah, I mean, the other option, I thought, all right, they're going to have a body double and put her, like they did with Rogue One, but I don't know, is that really...
I think they were pretty clear that they weren't going to do anything like that. Like, they weren't going to bring another actress in, they weren't going to do any CGI. You know, things change, and time heals and all that, so who's to say? They are a company at the end of the day, so it's 2 years from now. I hope they don't do it, and I'm going to trust that they don't, but who knows? Yeah,
I think I'm comfortable with, because she did very well in The Last Jedi. I thought it was good stuff with her. I think it's good. All right, we'll leave it. Or just say she's retired, or, she deserves a retirement. I'll say that. Leia's been through the ringer 7 times over, but I'm fine with them letting her die in her sleep off screen somewhere or something. Whatever they come up with, I'm sure I'll be fine with. It's not a big deal. All right. Why did Yoda look so young, different in the first projection of him talking to Luke? But when he reappeared with Luke, he looked, like The Empire Strikes Back Yoda. It's funny because that first time, obviously, he's talking about the look of Yoda in The Last Jedi. When I first saw it, and Joe and I touched on it last episode, is he looked weird because of the lighting, the luminous stuff that goes around him. I think that's what looked. And the first time we saw him, I don't know why we all kind of had that reaction. But the second time, it didn't bother me at all. Like, it didn't. I was like, all right, actually, I thought he was actually kind of funny. I liked what he was doing with Luke, and he taught him a lesson. I thought it was interesting. I don't know. What did you think? Because I think you were like me. Wait, I remember you saying some kind of a comment when you were on Reddit. You're like, Yoda, they should have went CGI Yoda.
Yeah,
I remember hearing that. So
I don't know.
what did you think?
So one, I guess to address the question, first off, I don't know that it was. I don't know that he looked different. It may have just been lighting. I don't think there was an intent there for him to look any different. I don't. Maybe they did. That would be pretty complex if they did, but I don't think there was an intent. I think when you first see him, he looks more of the more stoic, wise Yoda, and then after the tree burns down, I thought that was kind of just part of the play thing that he was doing with Luke and all that, and the lighter side of almost Clone Warsy more than Empire Strikes Back at times, where he was much more spriteful, I guess. But so yeah, I don't think that was intentional. And in terms of Yoda itself, I really wish they would just stick with one or the other. Either all puppet or do all CGI. Sometimes when they mix them, it gets a little. It's hard for me to kind of
Separate.
Separate them exactly. Yeah. So I don't know. He did look a little, for me, a little too animated, a little too puppetish, I guess. And I mean, it worked in Empire Strikes Back because for the time, that's really all we had. And I thought,
to be honest, and that was Lucas's biggest concern is like, I don't want him to look like Kermit, speaking like a wise Jedi master there. And I don't think that happened here. I think there was just so much going on that first night. We were all jittery and we just had all this stuff happen. And then when we see Yoda show up, it was kind of like,
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it just seemed out of place. Maybe I don't know. But I know in Reddit sometimes is good. I'll give it that. They showed a picture of Return of the Jedi Yoda, and then they showed what was in The Last Jedi. It looked more like the Return of the Jedi Yoda than anything else with his ears and that. So I don't know. I didn't have a big issue. But like you said, I'm with you. At this point, just go with CGI Yoda, I think. But, everyone wants to be practical effects. Just call movie effects and just pick whatever works best is my, what I.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for practical effects when the CGI can't be what it needs to be. But I think they kind of hit it out of the park with Revenge of the Sith Yoda. I mean, I was okay with that, right? I mean, just leave him in there.
Yeah.
And I think just to go back to the Empire Strikes Back thing, if you look at the way that was shot in those scenes, the lighting and everything, I think that's why it works better there than maybe here, where it's dark. You talked about the luminous thing. They've got to deal with the lighting from the fire going up and all that. I don't know that it really had an opportunity to be as effective as it could be had they just gone with CGI.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you on that. But anyway, all right. So let's get into this. One's kind of an interesting. Why did Kylo not notice Luke igniting his old blue saber? Well, I think Kylo was just so full of
rage,
emotion there. He wasn't, it's obvious from the fight, he wasn't even thinking straight. That's how I interpret it. And Luke projected the last image he remembers of his uncle. So, and that would have fired him up.
He did that to get under his skin. I get that.
Correct. And I don't think Kylo was really giving a crap about the lightsaber. He just thought Luke was there. And he's got a new lightsaber, and I got to deal with him. I don't know. What did you think?
Yeah, I agree. I don't think I have a different opinion. I was kind of hoping he would go, that lightsaber belongs to me.
Yeah.
Didn't happen, though.
Yeah, actually, I'm surprised he didn't say that at that point. Yeah, because he recognizes it with Rey, but he doesn't recognize. Well, of course, it was in the snow, but anyway. All right, so let's move on to Utini, who plays Battlefront 2 with us quite often. Should Ghost Hayden have been standing next to Luke? This is one of the issues I have. Of course, I had a bet with Joa about, I guess in Ghostland, he wants to know if Luke should be standing next to Anakin, I guess, in the future. I guess this is what his question is. I don't know if I personally thought he should have showed up and spoke to Luke. I think that would have been awesome instead of Yoda showing up. I don't know, maybe all of them showing up would have been pretty cool. I thought there was going to be some trippy Force stuff going on with the tree, with Luke and like his father showing up and Obi-Wan and stuff like that. And I thought it was great that he kind of threw Obi-Wan and the Jedi under the bus, as I said in last episode. I don't know if you picked up on that, Albert.
Yeah.
When he was talking, I think we did. Yeah, because we talked about it in Discord how much more I wanted Luke to talk about that. But anyway, what do you think of Hayden's Force Ghost? Do you think he should show up next to Luke in the future? Maybe with haunting Kylo or anything? What do you think?
I'd like to see him. I don't really care one way or the other about Hayden Christensen and his acting and anything. The character itself of Anakin Skywalker is one that I really was hoping would be in this movie, only because you think about Luke growing up, never had a father, right? Never really had that relationship. he goes and does all these valiant things to redeem him, to help redeem him. And he finally Anakin becomes redeemed. He's a Force ghost. We know he can commune with Force ghosts. You would think at that point something would start up with their relationship, and maybe it did. Maybe, I don't know. We don't know what all happened, obviously, between the end of Revenge of the Jedi and The Force Awakens or The Last Jedi. But you would think that during that time, and just being able to kind of talk to him whenever we want, these guys would have that father and son moment, or would be sitting down at times and just getting to know one another, getting to have a relationship they never both had. And we know that in Anakin's view was always family, and Luke was, obviously wanted his family. So why wouldn't they? And why would it be Yoda, right? Maybe there's something else there that we're not aware of, but I was really hoping that, to your point, it would have been Anakin versus Yoda that came to him and said, "Hey, dude, hey, son, get your head out of your butt," and it wasn't.
Yeah.
So,
well, I have to think, based on what he said about, Darth Sidious and Obi-Wan's, throwing Obi-Wan under the bus there, that he did talk to Anakin. He was more sympathetic to Anakin in how that all happened. And maybe he talked to his father and said, no, the Jedi, that's not the way to go. This isn't, something like that. Because he didn't really favor Obi-Wan at all in this. I imagine, and I was talking to Becca, and we were talking, I said, I bet you he just told Obi-Wan to take a leap, and he shut off the Force, and and maybe Yoda was the only one that was in tune to it and kind of just said, aha, you opened the door, now here I am. Yep. And, they did their thing, because that would be Yoda-like, you know what I mean? Whereas Obi-Wan and Anakin are like, whatever, we're off in Force heaven and having fun.
Yeah, I don't know that, just real quick on Obi-Wan, I would say I probably have a different view. I don't know if he really threw him under the bus. I kind of I heard that, at least, and the way I heard that was because Obi-Wan admitted too, I screwed up. I tried to train him. I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, he was pretty open about, look, I completely screwed this whole thing up, dude, back in Empire Return. So maybe it was just Luke just at peace with it all, and it's just factual at this point. It's not that he was so much throwing him under the bus. He was just telling the truth. Look, somebody tried to do something. They screwed it all up, and that's just the way it is. I'm not going to even give you the name because it's really not important at this point. And that's kind of how I interpreted it. But I mean, I guess it could be that, that Obi-Wan, or maybe they had some kind of fallout or something else. But
all right, well, let's see. Were you as happy as I was? This is Utini, that Rose didn't die. I did thought she died at first, after, when she put her after the kiss. I'm like, okay, that kind of sucked. But I mean, Rose was all right, but her character development was so kind of one dimensional. It wasn't anything spectacular to me. So it was whatever. I'm glad she survived, and I'm curious what will happen with her character in 9 and how it'll develop. So I'm happy about that. What about you?
Yeah, I didn't want her to die. I guess I wasn't hoping that she would, and when she didn't, I guess I was kind of indifferent. I liked her character. I wasn't in love with it. I mean, I see people gushing over her, and don't get me wrong, it's cool because she's she's playful. She's got a lot of spirit. She's giggling when she's riding the Fathier. She's having fun. I mean, she's just like this ball of energy, and that's probably Kelly Marie Tran in real life from what I've seen. So I like the character. I mean, I think it's new. I don't think they don't have anybody that's that bubbly or energetic. Which is kind of a cool dimension to Star Wars. But I didn't care one way or the other if she did. I'm glad she stayed alive, and I'm looking forward to what happens in 9 with her.
All right. Well, because this is kind of interesting in the fact, especially because I just played the campaign in Battlefront 2. I don't know if you had a chance to play it yet, Albert.
No, I haven't done the second campaign. The first campaign I've done, but not second.
Yeah, the second one I've done, Project Resurrection. And it's interesting because Leia's at the end there. No one answered the call. And there's something that ties in with Battlefront 2, that campaign, and you're making you wonder, what happened to them? Because why didn't they answer the call? Do you think people are going to join the rebellion, the new rebellion? I think yes. Obviously, Broom Boy at the end, which we'll get to at some point. I'm sure with these questions, we'll get to our favorite Broom Boy guy. I think that'll happen. Actually, Broom Boy gave me the indication that there will be a time jump, because he's going to have to age a little bit or something like that. So we'll see. I don't know. What do you think? We're going to, obviously the rebellion's just starting yet again. So it's almost like, well, what was the original trilogy all four if that wasn't the case. But anyway, what are your thoughts?
I think this is kind of a given. I mean, they were pretty much decimated in terms of their troops at the end of this movie, so they're going to have to rebuild. I think we're going to get new rebels. I'd like to see the return of some of the rebels, like Wedge and Lando, if they're around anywhere. Hello, where are you guys at? Snap, what happened to him? Right? We know JJ's coming back, so it's Greg's coming. There's no way around it. So they'll probably bring him back. But yeah, I mean, I would imagine there's probably a number of folks out there. The question is, why weren't they answering? And maybe they'll address that. But I think we'll get some more rebels coming back and some new rebels joining.
Yeah, I would imagine they had to be. Yeah, you make a good point. Where was he? Because this is just technically right after The Force Awakens, so he would have to be around. I mean, he wasn't with the bombing run or was he? And we just didn't know. I don't know. That's a good question now. I'm gonna think about that. All right. Well, let's get to a hot button issue because some people are confused by it. This is one of the other things that was kind of like, what did I just see? Is what was the point of the Ashtu cave scene with Rey? And it was a little bit trippy. I felt like I should have been dropping acid to kind of understand what the heck was going on myself.
Yep.
But what do you think, Albert? I'll throw it to you because I kind of gave my thoughts on it. But what do you think?
Man, this one's tough for me because I don't know what was going on in that scene. It threw me off at first because she was talking like she was talking to someone. And of course, by the end of that, when she comes out of there, you realize, oh, she's talking to Kylo about what happened in the cave. So that threw me off at first. In fact, I didn't even catch that to the second viewing. But anyways, I think the first thing that came to mind was Conan the Barbarian 2, when the mirrors and all that. But I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. I mean, I guess it really was to me, it seemed like the only single thing they were trying to address was her parenthood. And her walking up, touching it. You see the two images, they go into one. It turns out to be her. What does that mean? I think if you take it at face value and you take what we know, that was a way of saying that your parents don't matter. They are nobody. It's really you, right? That's why you're seeing the reflection. It doesn't matter. This is all about you at this point. That's kind of how I interpreted it. But I don't know. It almost makes me feel like there was probably more there. Maybe they had to cut it out or they didn't do it. But it definitely was something we'd never seen in Star Wars before. At least in the
hopefully
movies.
The book will give us more of those details on things that we didn't get. You know what I mean? Like with Chewie and Luke, and when Luke finds out about Han's death and stuff like that. Like the book will give you more of that. So hopefully we get that with the mirror here. I thought it was interesting because it was literally a mirror. And I remember seeing when she swims out and she sees it, says, oh, the mirror, facing the mirror. That's the old Jedi thing. And it's been mentioned in the Clone Wars, the original animated series there with the mirror, with Anakin going in the cave there with the tattoos on and stuff. So that was pretty cool. That was a good callback there. I interpret it as a few ways. One, I see it as Luke was doing something because at the time, Luke was awakening in the Force again. He turned it back on. And I wonder if he did something where she didn't have to know who her parents were because she wasn't ready for the truth. And that's a lesson he learned from Obi-Wan, maybe. The other thing is the Force kind of said, nah, you don't need to know this right now because you need to worry about you because you're the light. We can't have you going to the dark and being tempted and all that other stuff. As even Yoda says, we can't lose Rey. So maybe even Yoda said, you know what? No, you're not going to see it. So I don't know. There's a lot going on there. There's a lot that I still have to process and go through it and, just go over it. And hopefully I'll get a little bit more with actually, when you read the art book, well, I don't want to ruin it for you because you're going to enjoy that. And then maybe you'll think about things a little bit differently when the thought process Ryan was going in with that, because it was interesting how that came up. But anyway, let's get into Cab, another one of our PlayStation 4 guys, or actually he likes the Xbox, I should say, right? He's the big Xbox elitist. Yeah. Yes. All right. Do you think Phasma will return? No. I think Joe addressed this last podcast. I would like to see it happen somehow because in the book that we read, the one thing you realized is she's a survivalist, and if anyone's going to do it, it would be her. And as Joe teasingly said, she's like the new Darth Maul, the cockroach of the new Star Wars, I guess you could say, where she'll just keep turning up. I don't know. What do you think, Albert?
I'm saying yes. In fact, I don't think, and part of it is just that's what I felt before this, and now it's kind of spite for Joa. So because he said no, I'm saying yes.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
you
no,
should do that. Yeah.
Come on, man. I mean, it's Phasma. They really haven't given her enough time. If you read the book, you see how much of a survivalist she is. I don't think they're going to get rid of her now. How she comes back and what capacity and all of that, who's to say how that's going to be in 9? But I just can't see them getting writing her off like that. She's just one of the coolest characters, and she's got the armor on, which is made out of a spaceship. That was kind of cool. I don't know if we've talked about that, but in the movie, when she's getting shot at, the bolts are, I think it was Rose was shooting
Just
her.
bouncing right off.
Yeah, they're bouncing right off because it's ship armor. You're not going to penetrate that. So we don't know where that went into. Sure, it was fire, but she's protected. So maybe she comes back scarred. Maybe it was kind of cool to see Gwendolyn's face, or Phasma's face, I guess.
With the eyeball.
Yeah, with the eyeball.
Actually,
anyways.
it took me back to Anakin in Rebels.
Oh yeah, finale of season 2. Yep.
Yeah, it made me think of that, and I almost get it. See, it's funny. I'm like, oh, she's gonna live, and then the fireball engulfed her. But I'm like, wait a minute. It depends where she lands or where she went. Did she fall into space? I don't know if she did that. I think she just fell maybe into a trash heap. I don't know. Who knows what that is? All right. This is another big hot topic. His thoughts on Leia, the scene where she pulls herself back into the ship. What are our thoughts on that? Initially, when I was on Reddit and I saw little images of it, I thought, oh my God, Mary Poppins, Super Leia, as they were calling her, all these things. But it wasn't that bad. It was neat. It was interesting. And yeah, in this world, the Force, she's strong in the Force. Yeah, she could do this. So it wasn't, after you rationalize it, you're like, oh, wait a minute. She is a Skywalker at the end of the day. And this is something she would do. And it's kind of neat that her and Luke get to do something kind of pretty cool and different and interesting. So I don't know. What did you think? Because I know you were like a little nervous as well with this.
Yeah, this is one of the ones that on paper, it just seemed cringeworthy. And then when I started seeing everybody calling her Superman Leia, Super Leia, they were making, I saw somebody had done something with a video clip and stuff, or animated GIF, and it was, funny, laughable. But then when you actually see it, so again, the first time I saw it, I was kind of like, okay, yeah, all right, I see why this seems kind of laughable. When I was in the theater, that first viewing, I could hear some people chuckling. So I don't know if they were spoiled and knew that was coming, or if that was just an immediate reaction to it. I will say that when I went in the second time, it was deathly quiet during that scene. And if you get a chance, go back and listen to the music, because that's one of the few times. I think they only do it maybe 2 or 3 times in the soundtrack, but that's one of the few times where Williams brought back that Luke and Leia theme, and it plays throughout that entire part. So again, seeing it on the screen with the music, and getting rid of all of that crap that I was coming in with on the first viewing made it much more enjoyable. And I don't know how you would pose her. I mean, she wasn't like fists in the air waving to the camera like in Superman 2 or Superman 1, right? It was more of a natural kind of just reaching out, which, if you're somebody's frozen, it's kind of hard to depict that in any way. If her hands were down, that would look weird. If both hands were up, that would look weird, right? So it's just an unnatural position to begin with. So I don't know that there's any clean way to do it, really, to make it look not make it look just even a little bit silly. So
it's a better outcome than Akbar, but hey,
no, we didn't even get to see it.
I know nobody's mourning Akbar, but anyway. One more question here. Do you wish they had more tie-ins to the books, comics, games, and all that stuff? And the campaign number 2 in Battlefront 2 does tie in pretty well with The Force Awakens and things that are going on. Very interesting, actually, and you'll probably enjoy it, Albert. That's cool, but the problem is, like, you wish the characters kind of would make an appearance in the background, or even a name mentioned like they did with Hera in Rogue One and stuff. Yeah, exactly. Yes, exactly. I don't know. What do you think? I'm imagining, because I want the books to matter and count, and they've kind of wishy-washy, and hopefully the Last Jedi novel will really actually give us some juicy stuff, and it will count. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I would like to see it. I think they've done let's see. In Last Jedi, I mean, they did a couple things, right? I mean, we had Holdo, of course. I mean, she was already in the movie to begin with, because it was written before the book was. So we had her. We had the spear from Adventures of Luke Skywalker. Again, the movie script was already done, so I think it was Lynn who did the book on that story. Anyways, yeah. So I think that was cool that they were able to kind of use that and say, okay, now here's the backstory of that. So I think they're trying. It's just it's a slippery slope, or it's a fine line that they got to walk there. He put in here, would we like to see? He gave some examples, and I'm hyper focused on the second one because Shreve from Battlefront 2 is still one of the coolest characters I think they've ever done in Star Wars. So I would like to see.
I would agree with that.
Yeah,
and I think last time we were talking on the same episode, we were like, yeah, we want more of him. So,
more
yes.
Shreve. Yep. So put him in there by all means. Get him a 9. I don't know how you do it, but get him a 9.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I hope he appears. He'd be pretty easy to do. A big blue alien head. You could do it. It wouldn't be a big thing. All right. So we had one question for me.
I want to take this question for you.
Okay. Oh, okay.
All right. So this is for Mike. Any new or changed thoughts on porgs?
Absolutely not. Still hate them. Still don't care.
Yeah.
I posted a picture in the art book, and I'm going to ruin it for you here.
No, I saw it.
Yeah, and in the movie, he's stepping on the lightsaber. In the artwork book, in the concept art, they actually have it ignited and impaling one of the porgs. And I'm like, why did this not make it in there? But I did say there was a happy medium between the anti-porg people and the pro-porg people, where we got a bit of, like, they got their thing, and then Chewie with his thing, and the lightsaber teasing, like, we're going to fry you. So it worked out. It wasn't bad. They weren't that annoying. It was like, whatever. I don't even care anymore. They're horrible creatures. Anyway. But all right, let's move on to Paul, who's one of our Praetorian guards in the Discord. He's got a few things. View on Carrie's death. We already did that, so we're not going to do that. CGI. BB-8 and the ATST issues. I didn't see any issues. I thought it was interesting. I think I said after my second viewing and R2 came about, or BB came about, and I said, well, he's just trying to be R2, and he's just not going to be R2-D2. I'll just leave it at that. But what did you think?
Well, I don't think I understand the context of the question. The issues itself, like, meaning he had issues?
Yeah, he just says, yeah. Do we have any issues? I think that's how he wants to phrase the question. But that's how I'm taking it. That's how I interpret it.
No, I mean, there was that part at the very end where BB-8, I thought it was kind of cool. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it was cute. But when Rose is on there and she's like, come on, or let's go, or need a ride, or whatever it was. I forget the line now. When it pulls up.
That was more corny than BB-8.
That part was a little bit more corny. And for whatever reason, the CGI looked odd for me there, too. It almost reminded me of Ed 209 from RoboCop, the way it kind of walks up. But
well, if it's Ryan, he might have done that intentionally to look that way.
Right.
So,
they use stop animation just for that one scene as a throwback to RoboCop. But no, I don't think I would.
RoboCop. See, look if Joe is listening now, we got another RoboCop reference in this show. This has been the ongoing thing for the 6 years that we've been doing this since we came back. Is RoboCop kind of sneaks into the show. If you go to the early episodes, we always mentioned RoboCop. For some odd reason. I don't know. All right. How do you think Kylo will evolve from here? That's a very interesting question. Now, see, this is the thing. Like, everyone's all up on Remper, and I hate using those stupid little names that people come up with, the thing. He's just the supreme leader now, as Snoke called him. I think it's interesting because, obviously, one, he's not all there in the head. He's very emotional. He's going to have to grow, and I think he learned a lesson. And I mentioned this to Joe on the last episode, where he faces Luke, his greatest enemy, and all these other things, and he's so emotionally strung. Same thing with Rey. When he confronts Rey for the first time, he keeps his emotions all over the place. He doesn't keep them in check. And I think that's the lesson he has to learn as a leader going forward, which will make him more dangerous. Now, do you think that'll happen? I don't know. What are your thoughts on Kylo going from here?
Yeah, I mean, this is an episode. This is a Cantina Cast episode right here, if not one or two, right?
At some point, yeah. Yes, I would agree, yes.
But in terms of just a quick answer, I don't think he's ready to be supreme leader. He's obviously shown that. He's not mature enough mentally. He's got a lot of baggage. He's going to have to deal with a lot of these things. Maybe he'll benefit from a time jump and be able to kind of get his head together. But I think I would like to see that as part of the struggle. Either don't deal with it or deal with it immediately, but deal with the fact that this is still a kid, that he's immature, that he's, outrageous at times or most of the time now. He's emotional. I can't see him I don't even see him wanting this position. I think outside of just having ultimate power, it seems like the burden is too big for this kid right now mentally and where he is with things.
Well, as he says, and that's why he pitches it to Rey. Come join me. That's the thing. That's the Skywalker thing. I can't really do it all on my own, so come with me. Will Kylo take an apprentice? Now that's an interesting thing. How is that going to come about? I don't know. And then he's got another one. Will the Praetorian Guards, like we had them with Snoke? Will the Knights of Ren be particularly his thing? Because as Luke says, he said does a handful of his students left with Kylo. We're all led to believe the Praetorian Guards are those, but maybe not. I don't know, because it's hard to say. The interesting thing with them is, like, the Praetorian Guards had melee weapons, which basically the Knights of Ren did when they were with him on the wherever he was ransacking whatever he was doing. So I don't know. What do you think? Do you think we'll see the Knights of Ren come back and be around him? Will he take an apprentice? I would imagine he would, because that's just the way. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I would say apprentice is probably 50-50. If he does, who is it going to be? Is it an existing character? Probably not. I mean, I don't see Hux there. Is it going to be a new character? Then maybe that's probably the more likely option, but they would have to obviously do something to introduce him. Maybe they don't have to put a lot into it, but they have to do something to introduce this character to make you care. I would say for the Knights of Ren, I don't know. There's just too many unknown variables or unknown things about the Knights of Ren to really say one way or the other as to whether or not they're the Praetorian Guards. And you could easily say, well, maybe they didn't come over with their lightsabers, and because crystals were scarce and they weren't able to build lightsabers, or they didn't have the tech or whatever it is, and that's why they had to resort to these pseudo weapons that could be used against lightsabers. Will the Knights of Ren return? To me, it always seemed, or at least felt from what I heard and read, that was JJ's thing, right? That was one of the things he had come up with and kind of put a lot of time and really wanted to showcase. So I would have to think with him coming back in 9, he's going to probably resurrect that. I would hope he would. It's one of the things I was really looking forward to, honestly. And we won't get into it in this show, but there was, obviously a number of things that I was been waiting for 2 years to get an answer to, and this was one of them, is who the Knights of Ren were. They made such a big deal about them in The Force Awakens, and then come to find out, we're not even going to really talk about them in 8.
Yeah, so. JJ even said he wanted to do a spinoff on them.
Yeah.
And that never, I don't know if he was really serious or not, but Brad pretty much asked this whole question about the Knights of Ren, but he did have one more thing. Brad is, he's in the, in our Discord channel, in case, or bed, I guess you could say. Also, what happened to the blue lightsaber that Kylo had? Well, Ben had. He used to defend himself. What happened to that? And I thought about this, and at first I thought, when I first saw it, Luke was using the one that Ben actually had. But if you look, I got to look again, because I thought on my second viewing, I thought, that's the saber he has now, because the hilt looks similar. Like it fans out at the end. I think. I could be wrong. I don't know. What did you think of the saber? What do you think happened to that?
I need to go back and look at it. I tried to focus the second time. I really wasn't focusing on that saber much the first time, because I already knew that it was some kind of a projection of some type. So I figured, it could be anything really. The second time I went in, I noticed a lot more black on the hilt. Like the top of it looked like the Skywalker saber, but the bottom of it almost, again, I have to go back and look at it, but it looked like there was too much black for it to be the Skywalker saber. But yeah, that's a good theory. I don't know. Maybe that is, he was projecting. Maybe he did take it away at that point, and that was just an extra one that he had laying around the house in the junk drawer or something.
Maybe that's a possibility. All right, we'll go to Zinkle. Do you think the kids at the end of episode 8 will have a role in episode 9?
Broom Boy.
It's hard to say, because they what's that?
No, I said Broom Boy.
Yeah, Broom Boy. Yes, our favorite. Your Broom Boy theory sucks is what our moniker's going to be, Steel. So don't think about stealing it. But anyway, I don't. It's hard to say. If we get the time jump, I think maybe the girl and the other kid, who seem to be a little older than Broom Boy, and I hate even calling that, because he's actually got a name in the thing. I just can't remember it.
I'm trying to pull up his name right now.
Oh well. See, that the man on the spot right here. Yep. Unlike me, who's not even. I forget what his name is, but anyway, well, what are your thoughts on it? Do you think? I mean, I took it as a symbol of, he turns the ring and it becomes the rebel symbol, like he's going to answer the call and be a part of it. I just don't know if he's going to be a part of it in 9, which makes me think, there'll be a bit of a time jump. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, if the question's about Tamiri Blog, because that's his name.
Oh, okay.
Tamiri Blog. I think it depends on how much time passes. If 3 to 5 years, maybe he's about the age that he would be a Padawan. Maybe we'll see that, or whatever they decide to call him. I don't know. It seems very purposeful that he's there, right? To either kind of segue into 9, or maybe this is what some spin-off series is going to be based on. Maybe it's animated, maybe it's a live action. We get this kid in there, who knows? But I don't think they would go through that much trouble to focus on, because he's not only just in that last scene, right? He's in at least 2 other scenes by my count, where they show him. So he is kind of showcased and spotlighted throughout, once they get to Canto Bight. So to me, that seems like it's enough that they would at least put him in there. It's significant enough that we should expect to see him in something coming up.
Well, it'll be interesting where they go. I think it's just that ending was kind of weird, but I get where he was going with it, because it wasn't a typical Star Wars ending. It was almost like an end credit you'd see in a Marvel thing, because they did the typical shot where Leia, Rey, Chewie, and everyone's on the Falcon, and it's kind of panning away a little bit, and that's kind of the ending. And then this was like a leftover thing. Like it was like, hey, this is post-credit stuff or something like that. This is an interesting question here. Zinkel also has is, what does the First Order have left, and what does we know what the Resistance has left, because it's all on the Falcon. The First Order, that's an interesting thing to think about. I don't think that was all of their forces. They took a hit with the Star Killer, and then this battle and the battle before on Dakar. So I don't know. What's your assessment of the First Order? I think they're obviously weakened, but from what I gathered, because they started putting their flags all over the place once the Republic was wiped out, they just started coming in and taking over things. So I think forces are all over. And if you play the game with Project Resurrection, that campaign, it indicates that they're stealing all these children, the First Order, and making them into soldiers almost as fast as like they made clones in the Clone Wars. You know what I mean? Like they were just doing and taking these kids. But what do you think?
Yeah, I think the First Order, although they had, they took their losses, I at least in my mind, they're fine. I mean, even Poe Dameron at the very beginning, when that Dreadnought shows up, he said that's a Dreadnought class. Like there were multiple of those. So this is one of them. So where are the other ones at, right? They've got to be somewhere in the galaxy. And if you think about it from that perspective, who has the bigger hill to climb in rebuilding? Is it the First Order, who is kind of probably, maintained for the most part status quo, and they've got resources out there? We don't know if their funding's been cut off. They've obviously got a ton of money somewhere, or the the rebellion, which is what, 15 people sitting on a Falcon ship. They've got a huge tall order. I mean, unless these rebels that we talked about earlier, the reinforcements come and they've been kicking back with tons and tons of resources, seems like they've got the bigger hill to climb. So I think the First Order is probably going to still be a pretty big threat and have a lot of power behind them.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they're fine. I don't think they took a hit, but I think that obviously this is why I think we'll get the time jump again, is the Resistance needs to build up. And as Luke said, the war's just beginning. It's not over, that whole thing. Fintorum, I guess you could say, his question, another one from Discord. This is kind of another Mara question. Do you think the Mara scene indicates that this is the latest incarnation of Rey, that she may be the one that has walked this path before and intend to bring balance to the Force? Yeah, I guess at the Mara scene you could see, okay, that's kind of reincarnation type of stuff. I guess it says more for that than she's a Skywalker, I guess you could say. I don't know. What do you think of that? Is that a possibility? I know we talked about the Mara a little bit earlier, but what do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's a possibility for sure. We haven't really spoken about the chosen one, or not chosen one, but the one that would bring balance to the Force, the prophecy, and all of that. So, going into this movie, we kind of at least thought that they were going to touch on this, especially when I think we had the quote from Hamill. We had Anthony Bresnikan from Entertainment Weekly had made that one comment, so we jumped all over it and thought, oh, okay, we're going to get something that has to do with the prophecy. So I don't know, maybe this was it, and it was just way more subtle than we were expecting or hoping.
Yeah. I really did wish we were going to get more Force crazy things and all that stuff, but we didn't. So, all right. This is from Vengeful. Will we ever learn who Snoke is and where he came from? Well, yes and no. I think we will at some point, obviously in a book or a comic or even post Return of the Jedi animated stuff where he gets in. Because obviously, if they're going to do, as I've always said, the animated show about post Return of the Jedi with maybe Ben and Luke, we're going to find out Snoke getting into his heart and kind of manipulating things. Obviously, I think what is Snoke's greatest power, if I remember right, is he's a manipulator. He's great at it.
Yep.
Yeah, which rivals what Palpatine did, because Palpatine, in my book, was like the best of the best. You can't, which makes me wonder, because there's that little comment that this is not the true form of Snoke. So I don't know. What do you think? What do you think?
Yeah, I think we will. Just kind of, I really think we'll get more of it. I mean, if I'm Disney and I know how much interest there was in Snoke at the end of The Force Awakens, and especially coming into The Last Jedi, I would not let that opportunity go. And I'd like to see, I don't know if we've talked about this in the show yet, but we've got the Thrawn and Vader comic or a novel coming out next year. I think it's next year. I'd like to see that, maybe the precursor to Snoke's background, or maybe they go out into where he's from or something like that, and then have some kind of novel akin to like Plagueis or Tarkin, or one of these novels where we get the kind of that whole backstory and we get to see him. It would be a completely missed opportunity for them not to capitalize on the popularity of Snoke. So yeah, I think we will.
Was it a missed opportunity at the end of the day, though?
For not doing it in the movie?
Yeah, well, I think I liked. See, this is the thing. I did like the choice Ryan made that bold choice of like, all right, let's cut the master out of the equation now and have Kylo take on this responsibility and this whole new burden, so to speak, or this new thing to do with his mentality and where he's thinking and everything. I think that's an interesting choice. However, Snoke is a very interesting, compelling character prior to. Is it a missed opportunity? Maybe. I would think not having Anakin show up as a Force ghost is more of a missed opportunity than anything with Snoke. So I don't really have too big of an issue with it. But do you think it's a missed opportunity at all?
In the movie itself, probably not. I mean, it definitely unleashes or removes any restrictions on Kylo at this point, right? Which is kind of cool. I think I would say what I was trying to say was it would be a missed opportunity for them not to go back and give us some kind of context or backstory on Snoke. But I think I'm okay with him dying, even though I would not have said that 48 hours ago.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Well, I think we've gone long enough. Unfortunately, we got a bunch of other questions we didn't get to, but we'll address them. Maybe we'll do something in Discord and we'll address these questions at a future date, or maybe we'll even get more. But I figured we'd get into, there was a lot of interesting questions here, but I don't want to go too long on all this. We'll just do another show at some point. But let's get into the survey results and pick the free T-shirt winner, which is something that Albert decided to do, and good for him. And it was an interesting thing. How did it turn out, Albert?
Yeah, okay.
I don't know. I didn't get into it too much. But
right, I have not shared the results with you on this yet. So for those of you that didn't know, I guess it's probably been about a month now that we advertised that we were going to be giving away a free T-shirt, and all you had to do was do one of our. We had 3 questions that we had picked out, which we'll cover in a second. Take a vote, and originally we were going to award the T-shirt to somebody who answered all the questions correctly. Well, as it turns out, the movie that we got really either didn't address some of these questions, or they were so gray, and I'll hit those in just a second. So what we're going to do for the contest now is we're just going to open it up to everyone. So anybody, if you went and took the little survey, answered all 3 questions, you're eligible to win. And I'm going to randomly pick somebody here at the very end of it. So let's do this. Let's talk about the questions. I'll kind of read them off and I'll kind of give you the results. So The first question was Rey is and this is a multiple choice. Rey is A, Skywalker, B, Palpatine, C, Kenobi, or D, other. So we had the winner of this one was Skywalker at 45%. Other was 40%. So yeah, so that's her being, I guess, a nobody for the most part. And then Palpatine was only 5%, with Kenobi at 10%. So
that's interesting.
So I guess if we had to pick the correct answer here, based on what we saw in the movie, we'd have to go with other, yeah?
Correct, yes.
All right.
Sadly,
So yeah.
I have to admit to that, yes.
All right, the second question. The kyber crystal we see around Luke's neck is from A, Kylo's lightsaber, B, Vader's lightsaber, C, Palpatine's lightsaber, D, his own lightsaber, or E, other. So for this one, 60% of the people voted and said it was Vader's lightsaber. In second place was 23% with his own lightsaber, which I thought was kind of cool. In third place was at 12% was Kylo's lightsaber, and I think you could make an argument that was why his crystal was fractured or made that crackling sound, right? And then in last was 7% with other. Nobody picked Palpatine on this one, which maybe was a stupid answer, but it was interesting. No one picked Palpatine on it. So
I think other, based on the visual dictionary, fits that.
Yeah, because this, it obviously was not addressed in the movie. We had one quick second. It was 1.5 seconds. I timed it. That they actually showed the necklace in The Last Jedi. It's kind of hanging there. But yeah, we didn't really get an answer to this. So I guess we're going with other on that one, based on the visual dictionary.
Yes.
And the last question we had was Luke and Leia will have a scene physically together. This was true. Yeah, so this
technically
exactly. So I don't know. Right, true or false? Yes or no? Would they have a scene? 75% voted and said yes, that they would have a scene. 25% voted and said no, and the answer is you're both right.
Yeah, because I can't really say that they did. So I mean, it was right and wrong. So that's pretty interesting. I would side with no, because he physically wasn't there, which means he didn't have a scene with Ben either. So I mean, I don't know. That's very interesting though. That's funny how that turned out, that whole thing. But in any case, so who's the winner? What are we gonna do?
Let me. I've got a randomizer here. Give me 1 second.
All right. We're randomizing the whole process here. So he's going to choose
randomize. Yep, prepare to randomize. Here we go. Okay, and the winner is participant 121, and that is, let me scroll down here. 121 is Amanda Baldwin. So Amanda Baldwin, congratulations. You won a Cantina Cast t-shirt.
Ooh, wow. Exciting. And by the way, opening night, I wore the Cantina Cast sweatshirt.
As did I.
I was representing.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, as did I. So Amanda, congratulations. I will be reaching out to you. We'll get that arranged and we'll get your shirt out to you as soon as we can.
Excellent. All right. Well, I guess that's going to do it for tonight. Albert, thanks for coming on, hosting with me. It's been fun going through the questions that we had. We didn't get to all of them, like I said, but I think Albert and I, and maybe even Joe, will do something in Discord and one of the voice chats, and we'll kind of go over some more questions, I think, because everyone's got more questions coming. I would think we might even have to do another show, because multiple viewings, you're picking up different things after you've seen it. These are like initial reaction questions. So, and Becca had an interesting point with the son and the twin sons at the end, and I had a whole theory with Luke and if he's really dead, but we won't get into that tonight because that's a whole other hour itself, and you guys will think I'm crazy, like your Snoke theory thing and everything. But anyway, if you want to like us, find us, and all that stuff, just check the show description. I'm not going to read it off like Joe normally does. I privately, just a little let you in on a secret here, everyone, the listeners. I only make him say it because I like hearing him say it and get exhausted when he says it. So, I got to get some torture out of this because he tortures me all the time. So, in any case, that's going to do it for tonight. Thank you, Albert. Thank you, everyone, and we will see you next week. You're still listening? Wow, that's amazing. Well, I'm here to give you the disclaimer. Normally we do a big, long, drawn-out disclaimer thing saying what's what and who's what and all that other stuff, but I think you guys kind of know that Lucasfilm and Disney have no affiliation with us at all, and we have none with them. We talk about Star Wars, which is their property, and all that other good, fun stuff, but I think you can tell which is our stuff and which is their stuff. If you can't, well, then send a lawyer to send an email to me, and I'll be glad to chat with them. Other than that, you know what's what, so that's your disclaimer.